Good morning, second grade. Miss Fogelman here today for your reading lesson. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so today we are continuing our discussion of comparing and contrasting two versions of the same story. Remember, last week we started and we compared the similarities and the differences between two stories. This will be our last week continuing that topic. As a review, comparing and contrasting is finding the differences which are on the outer parts of our Venn diagram and the similarities which are in the middle of our Venn diagram. Some of the words that are keywords when comparing are words like as, like, alike, similar, have in common, both, similarly to, and the same. So these are words that you can use when you are comparing and contrasting, when you're looking for the ways that they're the same. When I contrast, I identify. So now you're looking for the differences. Keywords for this are however, but, although, contrary to, as opposed to, and instead of. Today we're going to be looking at two stories. One is called The Fox and the Hedgehog. The other is called The Fox and the Cat. After we look at the passages, we are going to answer some questions. Once we discuss the questions together in this lesson, you will then go to Shobi and fill out this paper in your Shobi account. I have also included the two stories in case you need to look back. Okay, so the first story is called The Fox and the Hedgehog, and it begins. One day, the fox asked the hedgehog to steal some grapes from the vineyard. "No, I'm afraid of traps," said the hedgehog. "I have a bag of tricks if we get caught," said the fox. So they went to the vineyard. Before long, the fox got stuck in a trap. "Help," said the fox. "Use your bag of tricks," said the hedgehog. "My tricks fell out when we were walking," said the fox. "I only have one trick, to play dead," said the hedgehog. The fox played dead, and the farmer let him go from the trap because he thought he was dead. The next day, the fox and the hedgehog went back to the vineyard. This time, the hedgehog got stuck in the trap. "Help, I need your bag of tricks," said the hedgehog. "They all fell out again. I guess you will have to get caught," said the fox. "Come give me a hug before I die," said the hedgehog. The fox came and gave the hedgehog a hug. He held on tight and didn't let go until the farmer caught them both. The farmer was so impressed that the hedgehog caught a fox. He let the hedgehog go, but killed the fox. Okay, so before we move on to the next story, let's discuss that one for a few moments. This story has two characters, the fox and the hedgehog, and also the farmer. So it has three characters. In the story, the fox tries to trick the hedgehog. We know in other stories, we've also seen foxes being very crafty or tricky. So in this story, the fox tries to trick the hedgehog. In the first part of the story, the fox ends up being the one who is caught, and the hedgehog helps him. But of course, in the second part, the hedgehog is the one who is caught. And when the fox isn't willing to help him or makes excuses for trying to help him, the hedgehog tricks him back by catching him and holding on to him until the farmer comes. And in the end, the hedgehog is the one who gets away. All right, so let's look at the fox and the cat. A fox was boasting to a cat of its clever idea for escaping its enemies. "I have a whole bag of tricks," he said, "which contains 100 ways of escaping my enemies." "I only have one," said the cat, "but I can generally manage with that." Just at the moment, they heard the cry of a pack of hounds coming towards them, and the cat immediately scampered up a tree and hid herself in the branches. "This is my plan," said the cat. "What are you going to do?" The fox thought first of one way, then another, and while he was debating, the hounds came nearer and nearer. And at last the fox in his confusion was caught up by the hounds and soon killed by the huntsman. The cat, who had been looking on, said, "Better one safe way than 100 on which you cannot decide." Okay, so in this story, there are again 3 characters, the fox, the cat, and this time it's a huntsman. And remember back, even in today's world, hunters use hounds or dogs to find what they're looking for, whether it be, no matter what they're looking for, the hounds can find it for the hunter. So in this story, the fox is again boasting that he has so many ideas for escaping his enemies. And the cat only has one. But of course, in this story, again, the cat only has one trick, but it works. Whereas the fox has so many tricks that he cannot decide which one will actually work in this situation, and he ends up getting caught. So some similarities and differences between the 2 stories. Well, both in the first story, the fox learns a lesson to not try to trick others, right? Because in the end, he was the one that was hurt by his trick. Whereas the fox in the second story learns that he should only, when you have too many ways to try to react to a situation, sometimes it's hard to decide on just one. So that's one way that their stories are different. One way they're alike is that the poor fox at the end of the story dies in both stories, whereas the other character, either the cat or the hedgehog, survives to see another day. Another way that they are alike is that they both have a fox in the story. And a way that they're different is the fox is killed by the farmer in the first story, but is killed by the hunter in the second story. Another way they're different is that the first story has a hedgehog and the second story has a cat. In the first story, the hedgehog does not have any tricks, or well, he does have, I'm sorry. So in the first story, the hedgehog has only one trick, and that is to play dead. In the second story, the cat also only has one trick. So in both stories, they only have one trick. But the difference is that in the first story, the hedgehog's trick is to play dead. And in the second story, the cat's trick is to climb the tree. So as you can see, there are many similarities and differences. On your worksheet, you are going to talk about how are the hedgehog and the cat's actions different in the 2 stories. Actions mean what is their trick. Make sure you use parts of the stories in your answer. The third question is, how are the foxes in each story similar but different from each other? So I just went over several ways that they are alike and different. Okay, so you need to be sharing that with me here using parts of the story in your answer. And the first question says, how are the hedgehog and the cat similar? So you need to choose the one that shows how they are the same. All right, again, this worksheet is in Shobi. Make sure you go in and complete it. And if you need to hear the story again, come back and watch the video a second time. Have a good day.